All right. We're live for another episode of the Weekly. I'm Graham Stone, joined by David Sansel. It's June 15th here in Asia. And on Sunday afternoon, we had an announcement from President Trump on Truth Social that the deal with Iran is complete. And he has authorized the toll-free reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and the immediate removal of the U.S. naval blockade. He signed off his truth with ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow. This does seem to be one of the stronger peace deals of late. I don't know, what is this version 26.5 or something of the
Exactly, yeah.
peace deal? I mean, we had Iran's deputy foreign minister confirming the deal. Pakistan's prime minister, who's been serving as a key mediator, also posted on X that this is for real. Part of the post says it includes an immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. And on that note, Israel was not at the table for this deal. Its officials have voiced concerns, and Iran's military also weighed in, framing it as a humiliation of the U.S. and Israel. And maybe another thing to note: this is an MOU, right? A memorandum of understanding. The actual peace deal, should we make it that far, scheduled for June 19th to be signed in Switzerland. So, yeah, I mean, parts of the deal, as mentioned: full reopening of Hormuz without tolls, lifting of the U.S. blockade, Iranian commitments on nuclear non-weaponization, demining operations, and enriched uranium handling. Those are all they're supposed to be those are supposed to be hammered out, the details there, over the coming days or weeks. So the markets at least are they're pricing in that this is for real. We had oil dropping to below 70, oil futures. I'm looking at the WTI contract for difference futures right now. It dropped below 70, currently trading just above 80. So sharp drop off there on oil futures. Lower oil prices obviously would ease inflation and reduce input costs across transportation and manufacturing. So that improves the macro backdrop for risk assets. And Bitcoin reacted positively, spiking on the news, moving above 66K briefly from 64, currently trading around 65.5K. Got to imagine U.S. markets are going to be up on the open on Monday. I think the futures markets are showing positive signs for U.S. equity markets.
Yeah. Um, it is kind of the most hopeful thing we've seen in quite a while. Let's hope it's not just another Sunday evening, Sunday, what's it called? Market hopium, so that
Well,
markets open goodly
yeah,
the
maybe,
next
but the
next
the
week.
previous pattern has been to announce what is it? You
You
announce
go into you go into the
the week, go
weekend,
into the weekend with hostility,
yeah. And then
and
you leave
then
the weekend with good news.
yeah, and actually that is the pattern that happened. This because just a few days ago we had we're gonna take Karg Island,
Yeah, we're gonna
right?
storm Karg Island, and yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. So
I
pattern fits. We'll see if this holds.
yeah. The thing again, the key components are that both sides and multiple organs on both sides seem to be all saying the same thing, which I think is relatively new. Often you'd see like one side be like, "Oh yes, peace deal," and the other side would be like, no, there's no deal, there's no
Yeah.
talks, this kind of thing. Everyone's kind of seems to be on the same page. So yeah, hopeful. Um, I'm looking at futures right now. They gapped up right now, uh, pretty good, pretty bigly.
U.S. equities.
Yeah, I'm looking at the S&P 500 E mini futures, ES. So if this holds, we could be in for an interesting good week. When is the next big mega IPO? Right, we had SpaceX, which we'll get into later, but um, this could all be a catalyst for the next IPO on the menu.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right,
let's
let's
get
move
to
on to yes, diving deeper into Bitcoin specifically. Let's talk about the latest Saylor stuff.
so yeah. So Saylor continues to be in the spotlight here, um, of his own volition, as in he keeps making news. He could just kind of let things quietly die down. He is taking another tact, and he was at he was at BTC Prague this last week, and on stage he was responding to questions and concerns, anger, frustration about selling 32 Bitcoin when he has years of saying never sell your Bitcoin. In fact, sell your kidneys and remortgage your house to buy Bitcoin. This kind of thing. So again, remember, he sold 32 Bitcoin for like $2.5 million. The market did not like that, and we had like a bit of a flash crash. Not really a flash crash, but Bitcoin went down 20% in 1 week. And he's on stage addressing these concerns. He was at a Q&A fireside appearance, and he said, this is a quote, "By the way, I said to you, never sell your Bitcoin. I never said the company wouldn't sell its Bitcoin." This has kind of become the headline that had a lot of people scratching their head or making people angry. I put a little X post in the middle of this, Graham, from TXMC. I don't know if you see it there. And it's a kind of a mashup that might be worth playing.
Yeah.
No, you okay.
It's gonna
Okay,
take
it's
me a
fine.
minute to line this up.
No. So this was a very particular line. I think this will be kind of one of these infamous Sailor lines going into the future, along with "there is no second best," this kind of thing. He had another memorable incident on stage at BTC Prague. So with the on stage, he was speaking with Strike founder Jack Mallers,
Okay.
and Mallers asked him, "What does MNAV mean to you?" Right? It was like a pretty simple question. What does MNAV mean to you? And Saylor went from that one question. Saylor went on a 10-minute long answer. Um, and
By the way,
yeah. So continue.
Let's play it because no, if you finish what you're going to say first,
Okay.
then we'll go back to this one.
So basically, Jack Mahler, who is, you know, pro Bitcoin, very pro Bitcoin, he's pro strategy. It's kind of on the same side, but so he asked this question: what does IMNAV mean to you? Because Saylor had kind of intimated that IMNAV can be interpreted many different ways, and Mahler was one of those people being like, whoa, what? Anyway, strategy. So Mr. Saylor said that IMNAV is only one valuation framework, and um, investors can instead weigh gross assets and net assets per share. Um, He went on to say that issuing equity for cash strengthens rather than dilutes shareholders because they, quote, receive a tangible asset in return, whether cash or Bitcoin. This kind of goes against the whole Bitcoin per share or Satoshis per share kind of thing that seemed to have been the North Star of strategy, Metaplanet, and um, other DATs. And changing the meaning of MNAV now, or seemingly changing it right now to kind of fit with what strategy is doing, also seems to some maybe disingenuous. I listened to so Jack Mallers was asked after he got off stage, like, "Hey, why did you do that? Why did you ambush Saylor on stage with this question? You know, aren't you guys supposed to be friends?" And it was an interesting exchange. Mahler said, "Look, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I was on stage for a different panel, and in that panel, um, I was just asking, like, well, what does MNAV mean? And I've heard that other people are giving different definitions of MNAV, and I just don't understand how we can have multiple definitions of the same thing. This is not a healthy situation for the market. It's not a healthy way to comp businesses. We need, it's important to not um, change the meaning of things." So he said that on stage, and then apparently he sent an Uber request, and he was outside waiting for his Uber, and apparently Saylor said on stage, "If Jack Mahler wants to talk about me or ask me something, he should come up here and ask me questions himself," something like that. And so he did. Apparently Jack Mahler's assistant or friends were like, "Hey man, Saylor's telling you to come on stage and ask these questions." And so Mahler canceled his Uber. He walked back inside and went on stage and he asked him. So I think Mahler was a little taken aback at maybe Saylor's answer, and I think Saylor maybe was taken aback that Mahler took up the offer, right? That maybe was, and so things that maybe would have been best hashed out privately between the two ended up happening on stage, and both were a bit surprised with the outcome.
Yeah. So differing definitions of what MNAV means for these DATs. That's one thing, and then the other, as you mentioned before, is Saylor saying never sell your Bitcoin, but him sort of rewriting history and saying no, I never said I wouldn't sell my Bitcoin. I'm saying you shouldn't sell your Bitcoin. And then here's the clip. I've got it lined up. So presumably this clip is showing Saylor instances of where Saylor has said he would never sell his or Strategy's Bitcoin.
I said to you, never sell your Bitcoin. I never said that the company wouldn't sell his Bitcoin. And I promise not to sell the Bitcoin. And so we're in the business of not selling Bitcoin. We got very good at it. We have a PhD in hodling. I never said that the company wouldn't sell his Bitcoin. And I promise not to sell the Bitcoin. And I promise not to sell the Bitcoin. By the way, I said to you.
Okay. So
It's just kind of funny, yeah. So yeah, it's I don't know what to make of this. It does feel like strategy is having to change its strategy, and so then now it's having to kind of answer hard questions from the Bitcoin community. Um, I think it's probably natural for this to happen, and
yeah, Saylor also does claim that in I haven't been watching or following closely the monthly shareholder meetings or whatever they are, but he says that for quite a while in those meetings he's been saying that they would sell some Bitcoin if needed.
Yeah, and there's precedent, right? Like he sold Bitcoin in 2022. I think that was the last time he sold.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's never sold Bitcoin. Yeah, 2022. So
Anyway,
yeah.
buying. He's buying Bitcoin, or intimating as such. The latest.
Yeah. Yeah. So on Sunday, this happened on what, Thursday or Friday? On Sunday, he posted on X, quote, "Still adding dots," and then showing the familiar graph of the strategy Bitcoin purchases over time. The graph shows like 111 purchases, and those 111 purchases have an average Bitcoin price now of $75,682, which is currently above the Bitcoin price of 65.5 or whatever it is, thereabouts. So his new stance, or his latest updated stance, is, I might sell Bitcoin, but on balance, on net, will always be a net buyer, right? So this is, I guess, kind of another step in showing that they're doing that. So that's what's happening with strategy last week.
Now, as strategy's preferred yield instrument, the whole thing starts to potentially unwind, or questions, or at least are being asked about it. Meanwhile, in Japan, Metaplanet, which is like probably the number 2 DAT behind strategy globally, they seem to be gearing up to follow the same strategy. God, I hate that, as strategy, in terms of offering preferred instruments with yield. So this is evidenced by an acquisition that's just been announced. Metaplanet will be buying SIBO for a small amount, just $13 million. But what it does is it adds a licensed Japanese security platform, and SIBO, which is the company being acquired, will become a wholly owned subsidiary named Metaplanet Securities. Now, the acquisition is designed to turn Metaplanet's treasury position into a broader financial business. So they're hoping to develop and distribute Bitcoin-related yield products, digital securities, Bitcoin-backed preferred shares, lending services, and other BTC-linked instruments through Metaplanet Securities. So I read this as they're gearing up to do what strategy has done with STRC.
Where does STRC stand right now? I read a post that it's still below par.
Yeah, it is. It's currently at about $95. It's supposed to be at 100.
Yeah, so market's still not very confident about this. This is a still a going concern, right? That hasn't been solved yet. Presumably hasn't been solved yet because they only have like what, 7 month run rate on the balance sheet right now to pay the dividend. So yeah, again, this is I mean, I hope Metaplanet, if they do offer these preferreds, they really keep track of it. So yeah, they also are really smart. Dylan LeClaire was great. I've interviewed him twice now, and he's awesome. So I do have confidence in him. But yeah, I think the preferred
there's a huge market of sort of idle cash sitting around in Japan. Metaplanet points to estimates that Japanese households hold around $7.4 trillion in cash. And so this is something they're trying to tap into with these. That's presumably the plan, offering yield instruments for this idle cash.
Yeah. Again, the issue is you need to be able to pay the dividend, right? That's the whole point. So
exactly. All right, let's move on to another story, which is this one has been playing out for months. The Hashpocalypse. Bitcoin's hash rate retreated from 1,000 plus exahash per second to that was the most recent peak in late April and early May to now around 893 exahash per second, so about a 10% drop. Meanwhile, Bitcoin difficulty, which is connected to the hash rate, right? The higher the hash rate, the higher the difficulty adjustment goes, and as hash rate falls, difficulty also falls. The latest difficulty adjustment came in at a 10% drop. So this is the second largest decline of 2026, and we're at an 11-month low for difficulty, Bitcoin difficulty. Now, what's happening here, right? It seems that many Bitcoin miners globally are, well, but especially in the US, are pivoting to AI data centers. And there's quite a bit of evidence to back this up. So, for example, Iron, one of the bigger miners, they secured a 5-year partnership with Microsoft, and that's projected to generate almost $2 billion in annualized revenue. Core Scientific, that's another player. They, the AI portion of their business now accounts for 39% of their revenue. TeraWolf is at 27%. So these publicly listed miners, basically, they also have been selling some Bitcoin to fund the pivot to AI. So this could also be part of the reason for Bitcoin's lackluster performance over the last few months. Now, there's an equilibrium will be reached with these, right? That's just how Bitcoin mining works, right? As some players realize that there's better opportunity for them, for their data centers, there's like higher margins in AI, they'll drop out. And other players with lower cost of energy or like off-grid, gas flare mining, whatever, those types of players will pick up the slack as hash rate falls. It's just interesting that this whole dynamic has been happening. And I do think it's a big part of the reason why Bitcoin has been, I mean, in addition to macro factors, has been selling off over the past few months. I think it's definitely connected to these Bitcoin miners pivoting to AI.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I had a great interview with a founder and CEO of a miner, Bitcoin miner, and he talked about how I can't wait to release this, but basically he was saying that all these miners who are pivoting hard to AI, it's going to be he feels like they're going to get burned pretty hard here in a couple years, right? Because apparently the way these deals are structured, it's not like these AI companies are giving money up front, right? Like, oh, here's $2 billion contract. Here's the money right now. These are structured contracts, and so he was saying that the way that they look, it can often be the case where the miner is left holding, creating and maintaining this physical asset, and if, let's say, the cost of compute were to fall a lot, or there's a recession and for whatever reason, or all these kinds of things, then the money could dry up or just be driven down by competition. And so he feels like a lot of these Bitcoin miners might get burned pretty hard from this massive pivot from everybody. Interesting take. It's one I haven't heard before, but yeah, apparently all the miners and people in the industry, they're talking about this constantly too.
Okay, now continuing in the AI thread, Anthropic released Fable last week, the renamed version of Mythos, I think.
Fable
Not sure
5.
why. Fable 5. Not sure why it wasn't called Mythos.
Because
I
it's
think they
a
wanted to keep it different
well,
because
it's
it's
a
not
new
quite Mythos. Yeah.
it's a neutered version of Mythos, right?
Yes.
So it has all these guardrails built into it.
Yes, and despite that, the U.S. government issued an export control order. So in that order, they directed Anthropic to block foreign nationals from accessing Fable 5 and Mythos 5 AI models. Now,
After
well, yeah, I mean,
it was in
Anthropic
response. It was in response to something though. This wasn't like some kind of like random.
in
The
response to
government.
what?
So one of Anthropic's biggest investors um, went came, went to Anthropic and said, "Hey, I was able to jailbreak Fable 5, as in like bypass all the guardrails, right, to make it like full Mythos, basically. Um,
Okay.
this is not good. You now have it's pretty easy to jailbreak Fable 5 to become full Mythos, like completely unguarded Mythos." And then the gossip goes, uh, Anthropic was like, we're gonna keep it, live." And so then the White House reached out and was like, "Please don't do this. Please stop. Like, pause it now." And they're like, "No, no, we're not going to." Apparently, Besant himself contacted Dario and was like, "Please turn this off for the time being. This is not good. It's jailbroken." And Dario again said, "Nope, gonna continue." And Besant said, "Quote, you're making a big mistake." And then after that, the government issued this.
Okay. Now they issued the export control order, and then Anthropic was like, well, we can't just turn it off to foreign nationals. There's no way we can figure out who's a foreign national and who's not. I mean, even if like because even if you're in a U.S. company on the like whitelisted uh, list of companies that is allowed to use it, there's people in those companies that are foreign nationals. So they just said, okay, we're turning it off completely. So Mythos 5 is off. And now, as this relates to crypto, fresh data is showing that about 2.8 billion has poured into AI focused crypto tokens over the past 7 days. So this is suggesting that the market is kind of not too happy with the direction things are going, and seeing an opportunity perhaps in the decentralized AI space, unobliterated models, and the other one is the open source. I don't know. There's like the this is a very dangerous situation. Like if the frontier model is only available to I don't know, whitelisted people, the result is just going to be that everyone's just going to have to use open source. Like,
Yeah, but did you? There was a. I should have posted this last week. There was a good post on comparing open source models to Opus 4.8 high and Mythos low, medium, high, or Fable. Sorry, I should say Fable low, medium, high, and the AI, all the open source models, Graham, on this graph are a flat line, right at the very bottom of the graph in terms of their performance, right? Performance. And Opus 4.8 is like this, and then Mythos or Fable 5 is like this. So it's on the high end of the graph, as in the performance is very high, the cost is high, the performance is high. 4.8 below, well below Fable, and then every single AI model was just a flat line at the very bottom of the graph, and it's basically showing that the open source models are not catching up. That's the punchline, is that they're not catching up. Um, or even close, at least in this regard for this set of tests. So, yeah, there's a bunch of issues here to disentangle, and this is not maybe the show to talk about it, but it's also like who controls this technology, right? Like, is it a private company run by a guy, an effective altruist? He gets to decide who gets to use this model. This unelected dude.
Exactly.
Or is it the U.S.? Is it the U.S. government, presumably elected by the people? And so for me personally, I think I side with. I find it dangerous when the government allegedly reached out through back channels, not public channels, to be like, "Hey, pause, please pause. It's easy to jailbreak this. DRPK can easily jailbreak this and use Mythos, full Mythos or whatever." And they were like, "No." Apparently, one of Anthropic's biggest investors is the one who came to them with the jailbreak, and they ignored him. So I don't know. It's, to me, that's just like it starts to feels a little megalomaniacal, kind of, right? Like we're more important and we can unilaterally decide what's good, and the government can't. Imagine if like Boeing or Northrop Grumman had like a missile or whatever, and the government was like, "Hey man, your missile has a flaw and can be hijacked to like target other people. You got to stop selling it and you got to decommission these." And they're like, "Nope, we're gonna keep doing it." It's just kind of I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our last story of the week. This is about the SpaceX IPO.
Yeah. So everybody was anticipating this first of the mega IPOs. People were saying they were afraid if this doesn't go well, this might send the market into, this might make market participants lose confidence. And it happened on Friday. SpaceX IPO went well. We have our first trillionaire in the world. It is Elon Musk. Everybody who hates capitalism and is a Democrat complained about it and said, how terrible the world is. Lots of people were very, very, very happy. I think, how many new millionaires were made from this event? It's like 4,000, 5,000 new millionaires. So the company released 555 million shares. They priced it at $135 a piece, and they pulled in $75 billion in the initial offering. It more than doubled Saudi Aramco's 2019 raise. When the stock market opened, it opened at 150 on the NASDAQ. And so this made Elon Musk the world's richest person. He is a trillionaire. And it was a good event. I thought it was pretty awesome. How this concerns crypto is, of course, the pre-IPO action was basically all on crypto exchanges, both centralized and decentralized. So price discovery for these pre-IPOs was in crypto land. This is important because it meant if you're in TradFi, you had to be paying attention to crypto properties, crypto projects, right? Centralized exchanges or decentralized exchanges. Pretty crazy. Like with the oil thing, it's pretty amazing now that full-on TradFi players, not just for vanity, but they must pay attention to crypto projects to do their job, right? And the interesting thing was Binance grabbed 60%, apparently 60% of the SpaceX derivatives market. Multiple outlets are reporting around 3.2 billion in SpaceX pre-IPO perp volume. and Binance alone reported 2.1 billion in that volume, of that volume over the past 18 days. So this would make Binance the biggest player in the pre-IPO SpaceX derivatives market.
Yeah, I think
well
this
ahead
makes
of
a lot of
Hyperliquid.
sense. Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense comparing Binance to Hyperliquid for this particular market, because the SpaceX IPO is an extremely retail heavy event. Every trader punter out there wanted in on this. Now, I think this indicates that Binance, more than Hyperliquid, is where retail plays. And like, your average guy is like, yeah, getting FOMO about SpaceX, and how do you like participate before the thing even launches? You could do it on Hyperliquid, but I think this just shows that the participants on Hyperliquid are perhaps like more like whales, more sophisticated players, while those on Binance, perhaps unsurprisingly, are just like your average retail punters.
Yeah, it's interesting because I thought Hyperliquid had the pre-IPO first, right? I think they had the pair before Binance. I need to double check that, but it looks like Binance futures had about 74% of the total 24-hour volume, and Hyperliquid had roughly 25 to 26% of the volume, and the other players were just like much smaller. So again, I was surprised at that big difference, but it makes me wonder, what is the future hold for Hyperliquid, right? Like, yeah, will Binance and some of these other exchanges start to squeeze out Hyperliquid's what's it called? It's
Dominance.
Offerings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Offering, like Binance, if Binance and all these things, these platforms start offering like oil futures quicker and everything like that, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's legitimate. Binance is legitimately an more straightforward UX than Hyperliquid, simply for the fact that it's not on chain. It's a centralized platform. With Hyperliquid, you have to, like get USDC on Arbitrum or something. I don't know. It's much more complicated.
Yeah, I mean, more complicated. It's also, again, it's an interesting question. Like, who do you trust more, right? Like, Binance is a black box in terms of what's happening in the order book and
Yeah.
problems and whatnot. On the other hand, Hyperliquid has this like I feel like Hyperliquid has this AI-induced smart contract risk kind of thing too,
Yeah.
now. So I don't know.
I think most users don't really care about trust. They just care about ease of use.
Yeah, but to me, it's the people with a lot of money who are probably making these markets.
Yeah.
So they're probably yeah, this is probably something I should look up. Like, where is the liquidity? Has the liquidity been moving off decentralized exchanges, not just Hyperliquid, but all of them, into more centralized exchanges, just to maybe hedge?
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good place to end it. Thanks, David, for another weekly wrap up. Catch us later in the week for Token Narratives, where we'll dive deeper into some of these narratives, give more hot takes. That's it for the week. Have a great week, everyone.